Hi, this is your girl Annette. We are here today sharing the experience of Peace Corps volunteers. Before we get started, I'm going to share the mission and the goals of Peace Corps. The Peace Corps' mission is to promote world peace and friendship by fulfilling three goals. One, to help the people of interested countries in meeting their needs for trained men and women. Two, to help promote a better understanding of Americans on the part of the people served. And three, to promote a better understanding of other people on the part of Americans. And today, we are fulfilling our third Peace Corps goal. So we have David Wilcox, and he is going to be sharing his Peace Corps experience. Welcome, David.
Hello, how are you doing, Annette?
I'm well. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
So please introduce yourself and tell us where you served.
My name is David Wilcox. I was a Peace Corps volunteer from February 2018 all the way up until March of 2016. I was a primary literacy promoter. I served in Las Terranas, in Bate Las Terranas in the Dominican Republic. It's a Bate, I'd say 90 minutes outside of the capital, located in the Monte Plata region.
All right. And what language did they speak in Dominican Republic?
Spanish. It was mainly Spanish. My Spanish is terrible, but they spoke Spanish. But in the Bate that I was in, it was not that uncommon to hear Creole spoken, especially amongst the older inhabitants of the or the older residents of the Bate, because with the Bates, they were established, back in the 40s, you could say the 20s, or maybe they've been around as long as there's been a Dominican Republic, really. But in my particular Bate, you could go back, let's say two generations, 3 generations, and those people would have come from Haiti, back in maybe the 50s or the 70s,
okay,
to work in the sugarcane fields. And the Bates were established by the people that owned the sugarcane fields for their workers to be able to go direct, easily go from their home to the fields, work, and then come back. Basically, I would just say, think of what you would see in those movies about sharecropping back in the 1920s. Some of the homes, for the most part, wooden homes, detached roofs made of aluminum or tin, whatever. No running water, indoor running water, plumbing outside.
Was that your service? No plumbing, you had to go get your water?
Well, I was fortunate in the fact that I had a bathroom in the home, in my apartment, but I did not have running water. So I would either have to buy water from a truck that would come by maybe once every other week, or what I really began to do is I would go down to where they had these 3 huge water tanks, or tanques as they called them, and just stand in line with other members of the Bate and fill up my 5-gallon buckets, and take that. I had a 5-gallon bucket and I had a 50-gallon drum, and I would keep those. I would keep those filled, and from there that would be my bathing, dishwashing, cooking, how to flush my toilets.
Okay. So did you, that sounds like a lot of recycling. So did you use like your shower water for your laundry water, or vice versa, the laundry water for the shower water versus the dish water? Like, did any of that get recycled, or you were just rolling? You was like, oh, I can get water whenever I want to, and I don't need to recycle the water?
Right. I knew the water. I mean, I knew that if worst came to worst, I could buy water. I knew that. Sometimes, it wouldn't be uncommon for there not to be water in the water tanks. So that would go, you know, you might have like a week of no water, 2 weeks of no water, but I had that 50-gallon tank. And I've always made sure to not allow that to get past, you know, at least have a fourth of it filled, you know, because you know, things that get critical, you know, you don't realize how much water you actually use until you have to ration it. And, you know, sometimes you do things like, all right, I'm not gonna flush the toilet. You know?
I heard, so some of the volunteers in Namibia had to do the same thing. So they were saying that they would recycle their water. So they would probably like do the dishes first, and whatever water was left, they could use that to like wash some clothes. And then as they ran low on like, and I was like, what? You had to do all that? And they was like, yeah. I was like, well, at some point I had running water, but sometimes you didn't. So if you didn't, when you did, you was trying to knock everything out, or you were trying to get some water to put to the side or whatever. But you're right. You don't really appreciate it until you don't have it, or till you realize you're really low on it.
Right. As far as washing my clothes, I would have like, there was a couple of women, well, really one woman within the community. One of my students, the grandmother of one of my students would wash my clothes. And I did that as a way to, you know,
give back.
Put money in the community. You know, 200 pesos a week. So that's like $5, close, like, or not even $5, because 500 pesos is $10. So like a little bit under $5.
Okay.
For a week for this lady. And, you know, most of the time she wouldn't dry my clothes. She told me if I wanted to get my clothes dried, it'll be 350 pesos. I'm like, well, all you gotta do is just stick them outside. You know, put them on those concrete blocks that you got right there. In 20 minutes they'd be dry. He's like, nah, it's gonna cost you more.
Wow.
Anyway, you know, so it's always a hustle. You know, of course, I had to supply the
washing soap.
Yeah, the soap powder and what they call it, acete. No, ice. That's what they call it. The ice and a block of soap. So you wash laundry powder and a block of soap that I knew was also being used for her home. but it, you know, it was all good.
Right. Okay. So in your community, you were in Dominican Republic. In the Dominican Republic, what projects like did you initiate, or were you a part of a school where you were teaching English? Were you in high school or middle school? What program were you a part of, and what projects did you have?
I was in a elementary school called Escuela Anacaona, which is within the community. It served, it was literally from pre-K all the way up to the 8th grade.
Okay.
I taught a little bit of everything in there. I would teach English, I would teach literacy, you know, I teach kids how to read and write. It depended on what the teacher's needs were for that day. Art classes, drama. But the project that I initiated was a library. I built a library within the school. I was able to secure a grant. This was within 6 months of me being there. I was able to secure a grant, and
nice.
We ended up grant for like $1,500, and there was already a space within the school that was dedicated. So with that, I was able to get some paints and all of that, build out the space, receive donations, both from within the Dominican Republic and internationally. Some volunteers and I have to shout out these ladies, One Library at a Time. It's a North Carolina-based nonprofit that these women, it was 3 women, 3 grandmothers, and they came to my country, or no, they came to my site, the Dominican Republic, with over $1,300 worth of books, all in Spanish. Not only did they bring the books, they helped me set up the library.
Nice.
Put in a cataloging system, and then showed the teachers within that school how to do it. These women, they've been doing that now for close to 10 years. They mainly work in Panama and Haiti, but I was the first Peace Corps, Dominican Republic Peace Corps volunteer that they had ever worked with. And, you know, they said that they wanted to start a relationship with Peace Corps DR. And I have to shout these women out, you know, because I literally, when I was looking for people to donate for my project, right, I just went on Google and just started writing down names and, you know, sending out email feelers. And it was them, Save the Children, and the Dominican American National Foundation of New York City that got back to me. Oh, and also the Rotary Club International, they also sent books, but they sent books to Peace Corps DR as a whole. Okay. One library at a time. They sent books specifically to my project, and I have to shout out these women because, you know, they came and, you know, they took care of business. Yeah. Okay, so one library at a time out of North Carolina? Yes, I think Asheville, North Carolina. But that's the name of the nonprofit is called One Library at a Time. Okay, that's pretty awesome. So was that like one of your favorite parts of your service or one of your favorite projects? Yeah, because I mean, with that one, you know, I was able to do something that will be of maximum benefit. I was able to fulfill a need that was there, because there were books in the classroom, but there was not a library, and, you know, not this many books. Of course, a lot of the books were stolen, but you know, I mean, the kids would they take the books home and not bring them back, but, you know, whatever. At the same time, like I said, that this is something that will be there and that can be built upon by the next volunteer, and the volunteer that comes after that, and the volunteer that comes after that. I was informed about, let's say about a month ago, that another organization that I had written to, but I forgot their name, had sent some books, and they had just arrived to Peace Corps DR headquarters, and they were going to try and get them into my community, you know. But I plan on going back to the Dominican Republic either next month or sometime in January. So I'd like to be there to, you know, shepherd those. To help with that, right? Yeah. Nice. But I know that's a project that's, you know, not only sustainable, but that can be built upon, and, you know, it's something tangible. It's something that, you know, because a lot of times you'll hear, you know, detractors of Peace Corps say, well, what did you do? You know, what did you do during your service? Well, I could point to that right there. I could point to that before I got there was not a library. Now there is a library. Children will learn how to read and write and comprehend, and who knows what impact I'll have on their lives, you know, going forward. I'm not, so for those people who are like, well, what did you do? Because I did this and I did that. Part of Peace Corps is because we are building amicable relations or encouraging peace through understanding. That part 2 goal, you can't accomplish that if you're not making a connection in your community. So being in that community, actually sharing, talking, sharing yourself, sharing your family, even like if you have pictures or whatever, that's part of service, and that's part of that exchange to say all Americans aren't alike. We don't all have the same beliefs. We don't all eat the same thing. We don't all speak the same language
per se. Like we have different dialects that we may use that may be different for them, to them. So everything that any volunteer brings to their community is a valid piece of service. So like for people who are like, well, my project was like, it's not a such thing as a better project because your project may not have worked in the community. They may not have wanted or needed that particular thing. There are a lot of things we come with like, oh yeah, I'm gonna do this and I'm gonna do that and I want this. And they're like, we don't need that. What we really need is this. So that comparison of service has always really kind of irked me because you can't do that. Even in the different villages, you were placed in your community because of the skill set that you had that village or that community requested in the first place. It's part of the first goal. So you're not going to send somebody who's an early childhood teacher somewhere where they need agricultural services. That just doesn't make sense. So your project is definitely going to be different than a person who is teaching English as a second language because now that is the country's national language. So like for those people, I say, if you served as a Peace Corps volunteer for any period of time, I encourage you to continue to share your experience and your story. But for you, Mr. Wilcox, if you could change something or improve something about your service, what would you do?
I would have drilled down on the language harder. I was pretty lazy or lax with, I came in as a 2, and when I left, I had gotten to be a 6, at a level 6. So I was intermediate and all that, but still, I could have put, there was one person I came in with, she was also a 2, but she left as an 8.
Wow.
But I knew for a fact that she was putting in the work. She was studying, she was listening to the podcast, she was, writing letters and speaking the language. I knew I could get by with a couple of words here and there. Sometimes people were like, está americano. No, está bien, está americano. So, like, all right. So, I would have, if I could change that about myself, I could still improve now. But, even within my service, I could have done a much better job as far as the language aspect.
Okay. And how did you learn about Peace Corps? Like, what made you sign up in the first place?
I've known about Peace Corps since I was a child. My mother, she wanted to be a Peace Corps volunteer, but then she got pregnant with me. And, that was one thing that she always said that once she retired from teaching, she would, volunteer, become a Peace Corps volunteer because she always wanted to do it when she was younger. And, I always grew up like, yeah, I'm going to do that. I'm going to go into the Peace Corps.
Nice.
And, I didn't know what the Peace Corps entailed. I think before I actually accepted the invitation to Peace Corps, I'd only met one person who was going into Peace Corps, this girl named Debbie. She was going into Peace Corps Madagascar. And this was in 2000. Yeah, she was the sister. No, she was somebody that I knew, but she was like, over there. She was going into Peace Corps Madagascar. So that, like, when Peace Corps was Peace Corps, as people like to say, Yeah, I remember the one time I spoke to her while she was in Madagascar. She was talking about having to put her bananas in iodine to get off all the parasites. And so she was eating these bananas that were blue and everything. And I thought that, I was like, oh wow, that sounds like an adventure. But I did not realize, all I had known about Peace Corps is, you graduated college, you applied, you got in. I did not realize that, one, the process to invitation was as long as it was. Two, that it was highly selective. Three, the medical clearance part was as arduous as it turned out to be. You know, those were the three things that, I thought like, yeah, I'm gonna finish college, I'm going in the Peace Corps, and, that's going to be that. But once it wasn't until I had accepted invitation and I began to tell people, they're like, hey, what are your plans now? I was, I'm going in the Peace Corps. You got in the Peace Corps? But how'd you do that? My friend and a couple of my friends, they applied and they got turned down. And I'm like, well, I just went online, filled out the application, and I got in. And so I didn't realize that, even when I began to tell professors, that because I graduated in June of 2017, but I was invited I got my invitation to serve in Peace Corps DR in April. So
wow.
I was telling my professors, what my plans were. They were like, oh, good Lord, like, keep us informed. One of my professors, they had me, this is after I had gotten out of Peace Corps, had me participate in like a panel, for City College of New York students, talking about what you could do post graduation. And, another professor emailed me and wanted to know my experience. Another couple of professors was telling me like, yeah, man, keep us in, we'll give you a reference for graduate school, I'm like, all of this because of Peace Corps? Like, Jesus. And then once I began to go on Reddit, and then I became more acquainted with, this is something that's, a certain circle of people, hold this in high regard. Because for me, it was just something to do. Originally I wanted to go to Peace Corps DR, because I had a couple of girlfriends over there. I thought that, okay, I'd be able to go there, hang out with them, and, it'll be like some 2-year vacation.
Right.
Paid, but, of course I'd be helping people too, but at the same time, I was completely deluded as to what Peace Corps was truly about. And then as I became more acquainted, I was like, okay, this is a serious thing that I'm going to be undertaking. And, not more than just the 2 years that I'd be able to tune in, turn on, and drop out. Right. Tune in, turn off, and drop out. But, this is something that has to be taken serious. And, because.
So you were saying that you went with one kind of mindset, like, I'm gonna hang out in 2 years in the DR. And once you got into your community, you was like, okay, this is going to be a little bit more than that. And yes. It's that same like process for the community in which you serve, because they had to apply, right?
Yeah, they applied. With the community that I was in, there was already a volunteer there. It was a sister, but I don't know if I should say her name, but it was somebody that was already there. She had to be evacuated from a previous site, and she was put in that site, but she had only been there for like 6 weeks. But she was COS. So, I literally followed up on the heels of her. And when I'm quite sure people will tell you about, when they arrived in their site the day of. And it was, stepped off the bus with all my worldly possessions, and it was just like literally me and staring down a dirt road into my community, and some dudes on a motorcycle telling me like, hey man, I'll take you to where you need to go.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, there was nobody there to meet me at the bus stop. Even though I had called ahead of time.
They didn't drop you off at your site?
I took a bus from the Capitol, from Plaza Lama, to like, let's say, how when you're driving on the interstate, you'll see like the signs like this stop Orlando.
Yes.
So I was dropped off at that sign. This stop, Las Taranas.
Oh,
And I
and
had,
those signs are usually miles from where you actually need to be.
but luckily this sign was like, the sign was there and across the street was my
Oh.
site. But you know,
But this is following training and everything, right?
I was following training and,
Okay.
but like the home that I had to go to was about, I say, it was a half a mile up a dirt road. And, you know, I had some dudes on a motorcycle, like a motorbike came up to me and said, like, put your stuff on the back of my motorbike and I'll take it to, you know, the pastor's house, because I was staying with a pastor. So I had to trust these guys. Like, all right, here you go. And they dropped it off. You know, of course, you're not supposed to take a motorbike in Peace Corps, you know, wink, wink, and everything. So, you know, I'll just leave it at that. And but like immediately, you know, I was like, oh man, you know, what have I done? You know, so within, I got there on May 9th. I got in the site on May 9th. Because the way they did it in Peace Corps DR was you got your site assignment. We came back from CBT on a Friday, chilled that weekend, came back on Monday, and we got our site assignments. That's where they go and they, you know, hand you you serve in Peace Corps, you know, they hand you the packet and they put the pins up on the map to show you.
Oh no, we had a game. They gave us we had like a scavenger hunt, and at the end of our scavenger hunt, it was me and another girl. We had like a puzzle. So once we put our puzzle together, it told us the community in which we were serving.
Oh, where did you serve at, if I may ask?
In Namibia.
Namibia, okay.
Yeah. So it was cool, but I am learning that everybody's I guess introduction or their 16 weeks is different, and apparently it's different like now than it was then. Y'all still do 16 weeks like of training?
No, what we did
13 or 16 weeks?
We did like 2 weeks pre-service training, 6 weeks of CBT, and then we were in.
I don't know how long I was in my community, but I was long enough to kind of like start a project, and then I was hitting out. So
yeah, we did. Our training was 8 weeks 2 weeks pre-service training, 6 weeks of CBT. Then we got our site assignments. Then we had to stay with our host family for 16 weeks. So we were, 12. Yeah, we had to stay with our host family for 3 months, at least 3 months. 3 months if you were married, 4 months if you were single. So yeah, I got there May 9th, and I moved out of my host parents' house in October.
Okay. Well, again, each site is a little different. So my last question today is, what would you say to individuals who are interested in serving in Peace Corps? Do you have any like helpful tips, suggestions, recommendations, things to prepare?
So, you know, because there are a lot of Peace Corps volunteers in my graduate cohort. You know, one of them said that while he will never tell anybody not to join Peace Corps, he will never tell anybody to join Peace Corps. And you know, that's a sentiment. You know, I mean, but like I said, I went in there, you know, completely dilute. I thought you could pick, you know, which city you went to. Like I was like, all right, I want to go to Punta Cana. Put me in Punta Cana. No, we can't do that. All right, put me in Santiago. You know, you know, like nah. You go where we send you. You know what I'm saying? That's what you were signing up for. So I mean, I would tell people just learn about the country that they're signing up for first. First of all, learn about that country. Learn where you could possibly be of the most use. Yeah, yeah. Not everybody, because DR is so close to New York where I currently live, and so I could get back. I had an idea of what the issues were and where I could be of most usage and so forth. And then I tailored my volunteer, because you have to build up your volunteer hours, before you could go into Peace Corps. So I tailored my volunteer experience towards that. So I know I won't go in there blind as to what I be doing and all of that. A lot of times I've spoken to people who've ET'd, and for those that don't know what ETing is, it's early termination. They go into Peace Corps with the same mindset that I had, but they also don't know anything about the country that they're serving in. Research. Does this country have any black people? How are black people treated when they get into said country? Because I don't know how many times I've spoken to people that even serve in the Dominican Republic. They talk, oh my God, microaggressions and racism. I'm like, you ain't know that before you went in? Like, shoot, it never ceases to amaze me, what people imagined, their service would be like before they went in there. Like, oh my God, they didn't like me because I'm a woman. Like, yeah, you ain't know that beforehand. Like, shoot. It's just, as they prepare yourself for that, be open to various, to different types of food. Be open to, some people's world views are not going to be the same as yours. You're gonna deal with people that, their thoughts of raising and disciplining children might not jive with what you think is,
Yeah, at some point I'm gonna have to tell the teachers that I'm the one who took all the tire whips from the classroom, because I totally did that, and yeah. But
yeah, right. I can't count how many times I saw kids get the strap taken to them. Literally,
I did that. And maybe if they ever watch any of these, they will hear that, because I don't think actually admitted, even though they found one of them in the library. But I agree with you in that you should research, know, some basics. I did not know a lot about Namibia at all, and I was calling it Nambia for the longest time until I got in country and was like, oh, Namibia. Okay, I got it. But that is great sound advice, and that's awesome that you looked up the country, or you were in country before and had some knowledge of it. So in terms of preparing for Peace Corps and like kind of honing the section that you wanted, the what is it, like the piece that you wanted to be in, and
sector, yeah,
your experience and your volunteerism on the part of service that you wanted to be a part of is brilliant. Like, it's brilliant. I'm a volunteer fanatic, I guess, because I was all over the place, kind of. And they were like, oh, but what do you enjoy? And I'm like, oh, I'm here now, and this is what I'm doing. And they were like, okay, so we do need someone who can do this, and we're going to send you here. Even so, that
I got that off the Reddit feed, because one of the things that I did before I went into Peace Corps, and even while I was in Peace Corps, something I do now is I go on the Peace Corps Reddit feed, and that's how I filled out my application. That's how I was able to craft my my letter of intent. That's how I was able to do a lot of things. I literally went on the Reddit feed for Peace Corps and just saw, okay, what should I put on my letter of intent for Peace Corps? And and you know, there was certain fees that would come up, and people would tell you what they put on theirs. And you know, there's a couple of other websites that I went on for of former volunteers, and I mean, they literally, like, one dude literally had his actual letter of intent that he had posted up there. So I knew how to frame what key points to look at. One thing I always tell people that are thinking about joining Peace Corps is, do not say that you were there to help anybody. Do not say that you were there, that you're going to Peace Corps because it's always been a dream of yours. Your application will be deleted offhand. Because Peace Corps is very cognizant about that whole no white saviors movement. And they're very cognizant of that, and you're there to be of service. You know, you're there, and they really they hark upon that. That's something that I took to heart myself, was that, you know, I'm just a guest. This is those people's country. All I'm there to do is see how my experiences might be able to fill certain voids, or what the resources that I'm able to access could fill certain gaps that, you know, they're trying to, you know, those teachers that in my school, those teachers were excellent. I mean, these were kids in in communities that did not have running water or lights 24 hours a day, but they were in the 3rd and 4th grade learning geometry.
Yeah.
So, I mean, these from kids that didn't wear socks, you know, but I would sit there and watch 8- and 9-year-old kids learn geometry, 10-year-old kids doing algebra. So I wasn't there to help them do anything, but I was able to access resources for books that then they could incorporate into their wider lessons,
right,
and all of that. So that's another bit of a kernel of knowledge I might be able to drop on somebody. Just know, like, yeah, you're not there to help.
Yeah.
You're just there to be, you know, to see how you could be of service.
Right.
And, you know, bring certain resources that can be used by those that, you know, can use them.
All right. So I think you gave some very valid advice in terms of honing their volunteerism and activities and work experiences here for something that they may be interested in doing as a Peace Corps volunteer. Again, I would like to thank you so much for joining us. If you are interested in serving as a Peace Corps volunteer, be sure to check out peacecorps.gov. There is a question and answer piece, like a frequently asked questions section. Check it out. If you meet or see volunteers, most of us are more than happy to share our experiences and answer any questions that you may have, but take your time and check it out. Thank you for joining me again, David.
Thank you very much. And yeah, I say the same thing, you know, just like the commercial said, it's the toughest job you'll ever love. So
that should be my ending, like, all the time. I love that.
Yes, thank you. Thank you.
All right.